Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Chastity, and here we talk about beauty, entertainment, celebrities, TV shows, movies, animes, and kind of anything else that garners my attention this week. Okay, so before we get into what today's video is about today, I got the Tiny Pretty Things book, and if you've been on my channel, you already know I did a review of the TV show, but I never got the chance to read the book. I'm reading it, regardless of not if I make videos or not, I'm reading the book. But I was wondering if those of you who've seen my review of the show would like to see me do a video on the book and then do a video comparing the two and where they're similar and where they differ. So if you would like to see that, don't forget to hit the like and then also comment and tell me like how you feel about that. So today we will be talking about the Netflix original Sweet Homes. It is based on a webtoon of the same name. We follow our main character Hansu, who is moving into the apartments after the death of his family. We can very much so see he's dealing with very severe depression, and very early on in our first episode, we actually do see him contemplating suicide. As the series goes on, we find out that Hansu was viciously bullied in school. These scenes I just found very hard to watch. I'm not gonna lie, like seeing because I don't want to say there's not like that's not normal bullying because bullying should never be normalized, but there's like you're being teased and you're being made fun of and maybe someone will take your lunch money and there's what they were doing to him. A lot of that was very hard for me to watch, and as well as he was being very viciously bullied. So at one point he does actually try to stand up for the bully. Unfortunately, his father ends up losing his job, and subsequently his friend's mother ends up dying because of circumstances involving money that friend could have gotten from the bully. But because Hanso intervened, he didn't get the money, his mother dies, and his friend blames him. And because of that and all of the things that have transpired, Hanso very much so blames himself for everything, that everything wrong in his friend's life, his father's life, it's all his fault, and he completely shuts himself off from the world. Now, before Hanso can end his life, Korea is actually under attack by people who are turning into monsters. What we will find out throughout the series is that it's not a disease, but it's actually a curse that's turning people into their hidden desires. So every person who turns, they turn to their desires, which I actually really do enjoy that. I find that a very cool concept because I feel like in monster stories and stuff like that, or like zombies, it's pretty uniform, but I enjoy the fact that every single like monster is individualized. I think that's very interesting, especially if we do get to continue and get a season 2. It'll be really interesting to see more characters and see what their true desires are and what they turn into. As of season 1, we don't really have any explanation as to how or why people are turning into these monsters besides just like the blanket, it's a curse, but it's like, why are they cursed? Why is this happening? How is this happening? Does everyone turn into it out eventually? Like, if you live long enough, will everyone turn into a monster? And then why are some people more susceptible to being fully taken over by the curse, and some people get to be in kind of like this hybrid state of like not really being human but not being physically turned into a monster. I do have one just like issue from like the moment I started watching it. The CGI. The CGI is really bad, and I don't know because I don't usually when I watch Korean shows, I usually watch K-dramas and a lot of romance heavy stuff. So maybe I don't really delve into like the horror stuff option. But I don't think that like CGI looks like this in Korea. Like I feel like it doesn't. But maybe it does. Like I don't know. Because I feel like at this point I'm used to CGI being so advanced that it feels like the monsters are a part of our world and we and it can interact with each other, versus these monsters feel like they were put in our world. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's the best way I can explain it. And it feels like it was put here instead of it's a part of our world. Because there are moments where I was watching Sweet Home, and then the monsters, the CGI would just kind of take me out because I stopped feeling fear for the characters. I stopped feeling so the tension would dissipate because I'm like, these aren't real. And I feel like I'm aware all the time that like monsters aren't real, but they look so fake that it just took me out the moment. There be times where I'm like, I'm supposed to feel tension, I'm supposed to feel scared, and I don't anymore because this really cartoonish monster is in front of me. And again, it could just be me being so used to how realistic CGI looks nowadays that I'm maybe a little spoiled by that, but it's just like there's just certain times where like the CGI just looks really bad. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna go into all the characters because I'd be here all day. There are a lot of main characters and side characters. But I will say about the characters is they are very well fleshed out. These characters feel like real people. I feel like especially in the genre of horror, a lot of the characters just feel like archetypes, just feel like filled in, but not real people. But I feel like a lot of these characters feel real. A lot of their actions and responses feel like things that real people would say and do. And I really enjoyed that. Because I personally am a person who, if a story isn't really that good, I will let it go if I enjoy the characters. And I did enjoy the story. The story was actually very, very good, very compelling. I would watch, I would read the webtoon, but now I feel like I think it's kind of in, like a little webtoon's making it harder to like read it now that it is a show, fortunately. But like the characters are well written characters. I feel like the characters I'm meant to love, I really do love, and the characters I hate, I really hate. Like I feel like that's important. That even if I don't like a character, I still have to feel something about them. And I've had feelings for each and every character. There was times where I cried, there was times where I laughed, there was times where I had to walk away from my TV because I was so angry about something a character did. That's super important. I need to be engaged. Again, whether or not I like the character, they have to make me feel something. And these characters, whether it was good or bad, they made me feel something, and I really enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. They were really well written characters, and I can't wait. Again, I hope we get season 2, because if we do, I'm excited to see what they will do with these characters, and if we will stick with this same group of people, or will we maybe move on from them. I don't know. I didn't read the webtoon, so I don't know. So there are many symptoms coming with this curse. The main one is, I can't even call it a nosebleed. It's like someone turned the faucet on in your nose and just walked away and just let it run. It's just a ocean of blood just gushing out of your nose. Enough blood that a normal person would die. But that is one of the main kind of tells to know if someone has the curse. Their nose will bleed, and then they will faint, and then they have like a fever, things like that. And our main character Hanso, he is infected, but he is different. He's a special case. He is not full. He does not fully turn like other people do. Usually, it takes about 15 days. You go through the symptoms and the motions, and then by usually day 15, you fully turn. If you don't turn sooner. Our main character, he is a very special boy. He is kind of, again, I personally refer to these characters as kind of like hybrids, because they're in between human and monster. They're able to tap into the monster when they want to, and they're able to, but still keep their human forms, unlike the monsters who just are a full monster. Speaking of monsters, there's just one monster that got its head lopped off. So seemingly there is no way to kill the monsters. Fire seems to do it. Like if you burn it to a crisp and then turn to ash, I would assume nothing can survive being burnt. Well, most things can survive being burnt. We'll get to that person. But when we start, it seems like there's no way to kill, because they cut this character's head clean off from like here up, gone. And it rises, and like, I hate this monster because this nigga can't see, but he seems to find everybody. And that pisses me off. You can't see me, but how you find me? We're on multiple different floors, bouncing up and down the floors, but this man seemed to keep finding me. You can't see, and he say he can't see, he lying. He can see. Because there ain't no way you can't see nobody, but you find everybody. So yes, Hansu is cursed, he's infected, but he's kind of lingering in what they refer to as the golden hour, where you're a monster but still human and are still able to be killed. Um, Unfortunately, I found it really, really interesting that we had Hansu as a main character who very much so when we met him wanted to die, and now he is an seemingly undying creature because we've seen him fall down 9 stories. We've seen him be shot. We've seen this man definitely be on the verge of death multiple times, but because of the place he's in as a monster, he can heal. And I find that very interesting that someone who wanted to die now can't. I do. I feel like the curse kind of gave him a new lease on life because while dealing with this, he ends up finding these 2 kids, and I feel like they gave him purpose and they gave him a reason to live because he wants to save and protect them. And those kids, usually kid characters go either way with a lot of people. Either you really love kid characters or you hate them. I personally really like these kids. I didn't find them irritating or annoying. I found most of their feelings and emotions to make sense. They weren't being too whiny. They weren't being too ridiculous. Because sometimes I feel like writers can't write believable children sometimes. And then children, it's hard to direct children. But I feel like on all fronts, the kids were written well and the kids were acted. Children acted extremely well. I feel like they were right next to the adults. I didn't feel like they dragged down the story or anything. I feel like the kids were really doing what they were supposed to do as actors. So, again, because Hansu cannot die, he becomes a very valuable asset to the survivors. There are a group of survivors that are staying in the downstairs part of the apartment complex because there is a grocery store, kind of bodega type thing, and a daycare where they can all stay and be safe, as well as cameras so they can see around the building, things like that. He is used as like, kind of like, his job is to like go upstairs where the monsters are and collect things, batteries, food, anything that the survivors would need. He goes and gets it. I do feel like it was very interesting to see him be so they're scared of him. That you can very much so tell that almost all the survivors are terrified of Hansu, but he's valuable and he is necessary. I don't appreciate the fact that like they lock him in a room at night because I feel like out of all the he was the most stable, and I feel like it just felt weird because he wasn't a monster. He was still very much so a person. He had thoughts, he had feelings, and to see him being used and then locked away, it did break my heart. Honestly, he's better than me because I would have been like, y'all not gonna treat me like this. Y'all can't kill me, so I'm the one in charge if I want to be. I very much so enjoy the fact that each survivor, as the show goes on, they learn and they grow, and by the end of the season, every character is a completely different person. They've gone through things with each other, and they've learned to be some better people, some not. But there's growth. No one is the same person they were when we met them episode 1. So, there were a lot of characters who grew a spine. There's a lot of characters who became better people after this, stronger people. And I really do love that to watch because it was a natural progression. It wasn't just one day they were a fucking badass. It was as time went on, they had to go through things. They got tougher. They got stronger. I really did appreciate, especially in the women characters. The women are the reason why I kept watching this. The women in this show were strong when needed to be, and they were sympathetic and emotional and good people when it was necessary. Most of the men that weren't the main cast were irritating. Like the 3 side dudes, the dude with the long hair, the dude with the short guy with the glasses, and the bitch that be talking with his chin, the one that ended up calling the army at the end. Yeah, fuck him. Fuck that nigga. What a bitch. Those 3 male characters were unconsequential, and I absolutely hated them. They pulled 0 weight the entire time. They did not do anything. They did not contribute anything but being whiny. There's a scene when they have a guy who basically, he's very good at technology. He welds, he takes care of everything. creates weapons for them, fixes things, builds things, you know. He's their basically their engineer. Him and the little girl are being attacked by like this spider monster. And all the women go and save them. While all those three grown men are chilling in the room not doing nothing. Useless, waste of space, we don't need them. Because all of the women, strong characters. There's one woman who she ends up turning into a monster before, or her husband, who is like the shopkeep, he's abusive to her. She gets to kill him. And it is so good. I absolutely love it that she was the one that got to kill him because he deserved to die. It was because honestly, there were characters who died before him, and I was really upset. He should have been the very first person to die. I wanted him dead from the very beginning, and so when he wanted to kick Hansu out, because he was like, he's gonna turn into one of the monsters, he can't be here with us. And in the moment of them trying to vote whether or not Hanso should go, his nose starts bleeding. And I'm like, look at that. Look at that. And she gets to kill him. But unfortunately, she then gets the curse. That's unfair. A lot of the women suffered a lot through this. I ain't like that. Not enough men died and suffered, in my opinion. Not enough. Not enough, y'all. Too many women were suffering through this entire show. I want a little less of that. Because I think out of the main guys, I'm going to get into one character's death that had me boo-hooing like a baby, but he died. And then the dude with the long hair died. And then the husband died. And I think that's... And old girl's brother. We don't know if he dies because they end up escaping through like an underground bunker. He stays, and we see his nose bleed. Now we don't actually see him die. We just see his nose bleed. Like we don't see his body. We just see nose bleed, and then we fade away. So I don't think he's dead, and I think he'll probably make it a reappearance in season 2. Don't quote me on that, but it's just like, we didn't see him die. Like, we've seen many people die. This show and its creators have never shied away from showing us death. But they did not show us him dying, so I think he's gonna come back. So a character's death who really got to me is, I'm trying not to butcher his name. Jung Jae-hoon. He's a Korean language teacher and a devout Christian. At first, he annoyed me, but I don't particularly like overly religious people and people who just start preaching without you asking. That's a lot sometimes. But he has a katana, and it's so cool. I don't know why he has one, but apparently he has like an affinity for like swords and stuff like that, which, I mean, do you, sis? He very quickly turned into one of my favorite characters because he became so badass. And I find it so interesting when like the girl asked him, she's like, aren't you scared? He's like, oh no, I'm actually terrified and full of anxiety right now. But he just doesn't, people just show differently, and he's just an internalized person. I really enjoyed his character growth and just him turning into honestly one of the most valuable like players to the survivors. And his death absolutely crushed. It crushed me because right before his death, there was an accident that happened kind of with them going into like the underground parking lot and them being attacked. He ends up like spraining his arm, so he's just one armed dude with a katana. And unfortunately, the security guard finds his way from upstairs back down to survivors, and he has like a weed whacker, and they're fighting, and then his arm gets cut off. And then he like takes his uncasted arm off, grabs his sword, gets the guy into the elevator, and that's how he kind of saves everyone. He risks his life. He acts up to throw a Molotov cocktail in there so you both could die. It was a lot. And like, I'm watching this play out. I see his arm get like, it's like not just like, his arm, like his arm gone. And he's just armless, one arm fighting to protect everyone. And I'm like watching this scene and I'm getting incredibly pissed because again, it just feels like all the wrong people kept dying, and, which is realistic. In a real life situation, good people die. Horrible people or people who don't really put in effort into the group, nothing bad ever seemingly happens to them. But it's always the people, because again, if you're going to risk your life, you're probably gonna die. Like, people who do risky things have a higher chance of dying. I get it. But it's a TV show. Stop being realistic. But like, I'm sitting here in my room, I'm watching it, and then like, I'm crying. And I'm pissed that I'm crying. Because I didn't realize how attached I was to his character, how big of a fixture he was to me. But like, I really loved him. And then we get a flashback to right before he runs into battle, essentially. And he tells our favorite girl, the girl with the little highlights in the back, good sis, the one whose brother dies. He tells her that he likes her. And she asks him, is that God's will? And he said, no, that's my will. And then he goes off to battle and then he dies. Just like a man. A man would tell you he loves you and then go die in battle. What terrible people. Oh, that's another thing I really enjoyed about this show. Relationships with each other weren't important, but there wasn't like romance per se. Like, you saw people get close to each other and you saw people connecting with each other, but like, it wasn't like how Netflix normally does it with like 50 billion sex scenes. It was just people were getting close to each other because you had nothing else to do but be close to the people around you. But like, actual like romance wasn't there. Because again, I felt like there was clear chemistry with specific characters with each other, but it wasn't just like these two are falling in love and we see them going on cute little dates in the middle of a fucking apocalypse. It wasn't like that. It was just very natural, and I really did enjoy that because that was not the forefront of the story. That wasn't it. These were things that were kind of happening as we went along, things that would naturally happen, people connecting with each other and wanting to connect with each other in situations like this. But it wasn't like how Netflix normally does it and having 50 billion sex scenes. And I'm sorry, after watching Pretty Tiny Things, I don't want to see another person have sex again. Not on my screen. I'm really good. I've moved past it. So episodes like, wow, this lighting drastically changed. So in episodes, I think it's the later half of 8 into episode 9, are my two least favorite episodes because like those bandit men like break in and so many people died. All the wrong people died in that episode. But traveling with those bandits is another kind of like cursed person, someone who's much like Hansu in the fact that they are in the golden hour. They can tap into the monster and still relatively look human. He ends up turning on the bandits because of Hansu. He wants Hansu on his side. He views Hansu as another apex predator like himself. That's weird. Men and apex predator things, y'all, that's an issue. But he is trying to seemingly kind of like recruit Hansu, telling him that no matter how kind we will be to humans, they will never see us as equals, and we will always be monsters to them, and they'll always try to kill us. And honestly, the survivors, it wasn't helping their cases. There's this friendly slime monster that actually ends up saving the little boy, and they kill it. And it was so nice and so sweet. It didn't harm people, and they still killed it. Regardless of how nice it was, it's still a monster to them, which was proving, that guy's point. At one point, he goes, because again, I'm not trying to spoil too much, but he starts indiscriminately shooting and killing people. And him and Hansu end up in this epic battle, and it seems like Hansu ends up killing him. But because of the type of monster he is, the body is not important to him. He's not really contained to whatever body he's in. He's just like this puddle of goo, and it can control anything. So it ends up taking a car and running. Now, we see during his little rampage of shooting, he kills two of the survivors, a nurse who has asthma, and this kind of like hitman who was actually trying to take her and go get her help because she was having an asthma attack. He has a burn on his face. So we get to the end of the episode, and we think that Hansu has been like taken by the military. They're gonna do experiments on him, but it's the hitman dude. But he has no scar on his face now either. He's a double agent, and he's just been like playing them this whole time, which I doubt. I really think like the goo dude took over his body, and that's why he no longer has a scar on his face anymore, and that's why he was like surprised to see me. So we'll see what happens with that season 2. Honestly, like I really did like enjoy this show. I had a really fun time watching it. I started watching it, today's Friday, so I started watching this Wednesday, finished up Thursday night. Such a good time. It sucks with only 10 episodes, but you know, we move forward. Again, hopefully we get a season 2. I would like to read the webtoon, but from what I heard, it is very, very different. I'm not surprised it's Netflix. Again, the CGI bothered me. It sure did bother me. It was bad. It was really bad. But you spend so much time with the actual characters that like you kind of get over it. And they're monsters, you know. I'm willing to let bad CGI go for a good story and good characters, and I really enjoy the characters. So that's it. That's my thoughts, my feelings, my opinions of Sweet Home. Tell me what you guys think. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Do you prefer not the manga, girl, the webtoon, or do you prefer the show? Tell me your thoughts and opinions. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's it. So again, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and thank you so much for watching my videos. Bye guys.